It's really easy to go in for the real estate on the property side, look at the Zillow Zestimates, the Realtor.com estimates, the Redfin estimates. If you look for land, they don't have those. So it's a lot harder to pinpoint what that comparable value is on looking at other properties. And so people may think that it's somewhat speculative in that sense. Um, but what we did, and Ryan's going to go through this in a little more detail, but what we did is basically aggregate all this data together. So we took out those concerns and we took out that risk, so you can see everything and all the information all at once. But putting those two together, the benefits and why people don't invest, there's a lot of, again, misconceptions for why they don't. And a lot of people don't realize that you can invest in land. So that's another thing. And we're trying to break through that barrier. We've seen a lot of people be extremely successful with it, create full careers out of it. And we want to have more people in this industry. So how do you start? That's the big question a lot of the people want to ask. And so it's very similar to how real estate, and when you're buying and selling property, there's different strategies. There's different strategies in the land investing space as well. But one of the best ways to buy land for under market is through direct mail market campaigns. So that's what we use throughout our process right here, is direct mail market campaigns, where we're able to send out letters and then shoot them out to all these property owners, asking them to buy their property. And there's multiple different ways how you can do that as well. But again, you could always do Facebook targeting or any other groups, but we've seen that direct mail marketing isn't going away. It's actually a great approach to do that. And we've seen a lot of success. A lot of our investors have seen a lot of success with it. And you can send out a whole bunch of letters really quickly to everyone asking for their property. So from start to finish, the land flipping process with direct mail, down below, you could see before you even send out letters, before you get into asking property owners, how can I buy a land, you need to go through the research phase. So before anything, you have to figure out where you want to research, what place in the United States you want to go to. Again, you're not tied to your location you're at. So the big thing is, where do you want to find that hot market? And so you want to go through, again, all those different sites. If you want to look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, figure out what you want to buy the properties for, what the median average income is in that area. So it's still, they're still able to buy it and it's affordable for them. So that's a big one. And then also looking at days on market trends, you can look at the sold properties in that area, the for sale properties in that area. So there's a ton of different data points that you can look at. And right now they're on multiple different sites at that you have to go to. So it's all about checking one site, checking another site, looking at another place, and then going through all the different land websites to actually look at the comparables. So it's all about looking at Zillow, Realtor.com, and then another big one is Lands of America. So what we're trying to do is really pinpoint an area that you like, has a great area people are going to. It fits within your criteria where you want to buy, and then it has the amount of owner records that you want to send letters to. So there's a bunch of different things going all in one time that needed to be condensed into one area. And there wasn't before we created Price. But so that's where the research and then the searching comes in, where you're actually finding those owner records, you're analyzing the data, being able to find that price point. Let's say a price is, you found that the market value at a per acre basis is $10,000. If we're offering anywhere between 25, 30, 35% of the value, you want to create offer prices at $3,000, because what we actually do is we price our letters out. So you can do neutral letters and blind offers. And we're going through, for the most part, our blind offers, where we're actually pricing our data. So before the analyzation, you want to figure out what that price point is on the offer price of where you're going. And then you want to find a data source where you're able to actually download the owner records. So there's plenty out there, RealQuest Pro. And then we use a site called DataTree, which is by First American. And so there's a bunch of different data points that you need to grab and find different sources. And so what we're doing is going through the process, downloading that data, cleaning it up, then making sure that there's no owner records, where there's no addresses where we can't mail to anyways. And then just cleaning it up from that standpoint, getting rid of columns that we don't need, and then pricing each property appropriately. So going through and actually figuring out what city it is, what are the comps around each city, and then pricing it to a degree where you're 30% of market value for the most part on average. And once you have that, you create a mail template, you merge it together, You send the letters out using some kind of mail house where they're able to do that in bulk. You process the inbound calls. And then from there, it's all about taking those calls, doing the due diligence, figuring out, going through, does it have road access? Is the offer price right? Can you flip it for a good profit quickly? And are there any other problems wrong with the property? And then go ahead and buy it. You market it. What we do is bring in a real estate agent. So we basically have them market the property. And then on the side, we'll also have ads on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or Place, on our website, everywhere that we can put them basically to do that. And we'll incentivize the real estate agent as well, and be able to give him more of a commission if he can sell it in a less time. And it's all about processing those inbound calls and then selling the property to end. And so that's basically the whole start to finish flow for one deal. And once you get the hang of it, you can start outsourcing each one and doing multiple different deals at the same time. And that's where it really starts to scale, when you're doing multiple different deals at the same time. So where do we fit in? There's a large process that goes on, and we're at the acquisition side in the front. So we have basically compiled the researching, the searching, the analyzing, the downloading of the data, the scrubbing of the data, and pricing of the data, and condensed it into one website where you can go to, and we can do that all for you. And our finished product is an Excel file with all your owner records, priced properly, cleaned up, where you can just send over to your mail house to get out the door and get those letters to the property owners. And we've basically taken the approach where we've maximized that efficiency without losing any of effectiveness in the mailing approach. So again, we've taken all those comps from sites where you'd have to normally search from Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and basically condense those into our platform. We have a huge searching library. We've partnered with DataTree, where we're licensed providers where you can download data right from them through us. And then again, we go through our algorithms, we clean up the data. So when you get it, it's really short and sweet, cleaned up, and you could basically mail that out right to your mail house and send out the letters. And you could do this with scale too, whether it's 1,000, 10,000, 50,000. We've had people download a ton of data all the time with us in bulk and be able to get the results they need. So Ryan, I'll let you go into basically a little bit more detail of our system itself.
Yeah, so as Max mentioned, one of the things that we tried to accomplish, and originally it was not intended to be a public-facing website. We wanted to build a system that we could do analysis on data for ourselves in our own flipping business. And that kind of pivoted to, we started sending out emails to a bunch of land investors that we knew about or that we didn't know, but knew through a friend, and tried to validate some of our assumptions. We were sending out lists of offer prices and data and saying, does this look right? We wanted to talk to the experts and make sure that what we were doing had some merit. And from that, we actually kind of transitioned from there to hey, let's be an acquisition engine for an experienced investor, so that all they have to do is take the calls and flip the land, and we will do the searching, we will do the analysis, we'll download the data, we'll get the mail out. And so the progression kind of started from that, and it kept moving along until we decided, hey, let's make this into a website, and let's actually try and share this with a bunch of people. Let's make it useful to everyone that does this. And so with that, what you're looking at here is some of our research data. So we compile, right now we have in our database about 2.5 billion comps. We compile comps from Zillow, Realtor, Lands of America, Land Flip, Land Watch, and put them all into a standardized format in a way that is easy to view and also easy to analyze. So if you look at our data table there, you can see like sold to for sale ratio, parcels on market ratio, coefficient of variation. We have a really cool economic system or economic ranking system where what we've done is we've done some data point analysis on from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We've looked at unemployment rates. We've looked at the quality of the land using some third-party sources and compiled that into an economic scoring system that allows us to kind of gauge county to county, right, across 3,000 counties, 3,000 plus counties in the United States, which is a better spot to go based on some data factors. And then with that, how do we price the data within that county accordingly? So on the right-hand side, you can see our coverage map, which allows you to sort of scale and zoom in and filter different areas. We have about 8 different maps on our research page. I didn't want to put them all on here, but we have a bunch of different maps that allow you to analyze different data points and get a better sense of where you want to go. And then once you sort of decide, hey, I like this county or I like this cluster of counties in a specific area, then you're going to move over to our search page. Next slide, Max. And on our search page, what we allow you to do is you can do searches at the county level, the city level, or in a state level. We also have a Polygon searching tool. So you can see there I kind of mapped out some of the hot spots of the Bay Area. I'm actually from San Jose, so it was nice to look and analyze some of the data there. And so we allow you to search multiple different ways. I just grabbed a snippet of the search page, but you can put in things like min and max acreage, purchase price, transaction costs, what your acreage increment should be, as well as like, for pricing characteristics, do you want to price for sale comps? Do you want to price with only sold comps? There's many more filters. All the filters below that line are actually data tree filters, and they're also similar to other list generation sites where you can filter down the owner record specifically. So the top stuff is going to be specific to our pricing modeling, and then the bottom stuff is specific to the owner records you're going to download. And then once you decide, let's say, you want to pick a county, I like that county, I'm going to search that area, I'm going to apply specific filters to that area. Then we're going to move on to the next page, which is our analysis results page. And on here, you're going to be able to see sort of the results of that search. So in this case, I searched Castilla County, Colorado. I searched a 10-acre increment range. And what I'm looking at is a list of target locations where I can go and I can send mail to. So you can see like that first option there, rank number 5, data tree owner records 170. So I can mail 170 owners in that target area of Castilla County, 20 to 29.99 acres. And that's the offer price that we set, or that we've modeled essentially. So we give you the offer price per acre and the market price per acre.
Where is the responsibility for this minuses? Because you just.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
No. Don't worry about it. Somebody left their mic on.
Oh, okay, no problem. But so with that, what we also allow you to do is when you click these target areas. So for example, I clicked the second row there for Castilla County, 30 to 39 acres. In the top right corner, you can see that you can actually modify. So let's say that I've done some additional due diligence beforehand, and I've said, we're suggesting 175, but I want to offer 190 or I want to offer 160. We allow you to modify that price. And on the right-hand picture, when you click the for sale and sold comps button, we actually give you all the comps that are in our database in that target area. So I can look and I can see all the different, real-time data points that are existing on the listing sites, like Zillow or Realtor. And you can't see it here, but on that source column, you can actually click those links, and those are hyperlinked to the actual website. So if I click that top one there for Zillow, it's going to open that property in Zillow. I'll be able to look at, who's listing the site, all that information. And so I have a really clean and easy way to start analyzing comps and analyzing prices in a single page here. So I can start to do, my analysis. Once I've decided where I want to go, it's as easy as just clicking the boxes and clicking continue and downloading the data. Now, I do want to highlight one thing here. This is our results for land page. We also have a workflow for housing. If you want to go to the next slide, Max. And with our housing flow, we have done integration with Redfin data. So what you're looking at here is I did a search in Los Angeles County. We return all of the results at the zip code level. So each one of those rows is a different zip code that you can mail to. And then in the top right corner, you can actually look at the Redfin metrics for that zip code. And so you can actually do some analysis on your housing too, if you wanted to do this process for housing. Our housing flow is not quite as built out as our land one. We actually are really focusing on vacant land right now. We have the option to do this and to build it out more. We're looking for better integrations with RealQuest right now so that we can have more housing data available. But I just wanted to bring it up and mention it because it is an option in our service right now. Once you decide to download, whether it be land or housing, what we're going to do is return a scrubbed file for you. And it's going to be basically an owner record. If you want to go to the next slide, Max. It's going to be an owner record list that we have done filtering on, that we've done data manipulation on, that we've applied pricing to. And so this is what that looks like. And so in our minds, this is a really clean and easy way to look at where I'm going to mail, right? I see the owner name, I see the mailing address, I see the the property, where the property actually is of the person I'm mailing. I see lat long, and I'll get to that in a second. I also have on the right, which is the most important stuff, which is our offer and market price. So this is all automatically generated for you. And you're able to, I don't want to say take the thought out of the process, but it takes a lot of the stress of dealing with Excel files and dealing with, lookup tables and all that sort of stuff, and allows you to just easily, line by line, it'll just price it right for you and have your data ready to go. The other really cool feature that we have that we're really excited about, that we just launched this week actually, is our KML campaign mapping. And so what this is going to allow you to do, when you download those owner records on the last page, if you select an option for KML data, you can actually include all of the comps that are around those owner records, and then we actually map them for you and produce a KML file that you can open in Google Earth. And so what you're looking at here is all of the green pinpoints are the owner records that you saw on the last slide. And so those are mapped onto the mapping surface here. And then with that, the yellow and the red are comps from Zillow, Realtor, and Lands of America that are also mapped, that we've basically geolocated for you. And what's really cool about this feature is when you're doing your due diligence and you're taking those calls, say I got a call from this Michael owner here, he wanted to sell me his property. I can go into this map and I can immediately look and I can see, what comps are closest to it, and also who else I've mailed that's closest to it. So I can sort of start to plot my way through this campaign and get a visual depiction of everything that's going on. And we think that that's awesome. I mean, just being honest, we're really excited about this feature. We're hoping that we can improve on it, right? Like I said, we just launched this week. And so we're hoping to improve on it and embed more and more information and find better ways to make this process even easier. But ultimately, with not just the campaign map, but all of price, like our goal is to make sort of that initial research and up to sending mail process a lot easier and a lot more condensed into a single service. That allows you to sort of not have 1,000 tabs open with, I'm on Zillow. I'm trying to compare it to owner records. I have an Excel file open. I'm trying to do some sort of hacky way to manipulate the pricing or write down the pricing. And so we're going to give you all those tools, right? And we have a lot of other services that I didn't even mention here, like exporting some of the comps, or we have a comp API. We have a list uploading service. So if you don't want to download from us, but you want some of our data. So we have a lot of other services that, sort of complement this main feature that I just highlighted, but that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk through that a little bit. And I think that's the last slide. I probably went faster than I should have, but that's
Yeah, and I could add on to that too. So again, like we are committed to automating as much as we can, because again, the land space has been somewhat forgotten in the technological advancements that have been in the real estate industry. So this allows you to scale like never before. So what we've seen on average is for every 1,000 letters that are sent out, we can get one property roughly under contract. And with this system, again, we're able to breeze through this part of it, which took days at a time to basically come up with all the pricing schemes. And now we have a call service in place. And so we're just taking the calls as they come in, as they're writing them down, and we're looking up the properties in our campaign map. So again, we have this whole acquisition front end process down, and we're just moving through it to now the selling portion and the marketing portion of it. So like Ryan mentioned, we're just trying to make it as easy as possible for everyone. And again, for ourselves too. So we're constantly updating our platform. From when we started and we launched in July till now, it's a completely different platform and completely different product, I would say. So we are constantly looking for feedback, and it's just Ryan and myself. So we don't have a corporate owned structure or anything. So we're constantly building this and really take this to heart, because it's basically ours that we developed, and we want to keep it that way. And it's for land investors by land investors. And what's really cool about the platform that we created is that it's simple enough for a new beginner to get started, but it's advanced enough for an expert in the land investment industry that needs everything that he needs to get his deals done. So we cater to everyone, and that's what a big point that we wanted to get across, is that this is not for one specific person. And so we can do this, and anyone can learn this, right? So we aren't necessarily a land investing educational program, but we are here to cater and facilitate the acquisition process to get you through it. But that's about our presentation, at least from a PowerPoint standpoint. We can always go into the actual details of our website and show you a live look into it, but we'd love to hear questions, and we can kind of go dive into it as the questions come through as well.
Hey, Bobby, can we ask questions live, or you want them in the chat?
No, Vince, you can just unmute yourself and then ask away.
Okay. Hey, first of all, great presentation. I've heard a little bit more about this lately and was definitely interested. I'm more right now in the single family space, but I have a great deal of interest in land. So I'm glad we had this presentation tonight. I guess my question is kind of what you were saying. You guys aren't a land education program for somebody who's, you know, familiar with real estate, but not familiar with land. Like, would you have any suggestions about learning a little bit more about it?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I appreciate all the support and everything. So we've partnered with an educational platform. It's called Casual Fridays REI. And so there's two people that run that. And so Justin Sleva and Adam Southey, and they do an excellent job walking you through the entire process. So we always turn people through them. They're expert land investors themselves and do this full time and really walk you through the steps needed to succeed in this. And then basically we are here to facilitate that acquisition process for you.
Right. Okay. So you said it's Casual Fridays REI.
Yes. Yeah. casualfridaysrei.com.
Okay. Awesome. Anyway, product looks great. Hope to be able to use it. Appreciate you guys coming on tonight. So I'll definitely follow up on that, and hope to be able to use this in the future. Need to learn a little bit more first, but
of course, always. Thanks a lot.
I've got several questions in the chat, but if other folks have questions, for example, Ofer wants to know, do you provide what data set of the owner of the parcel do you provide? What data exactly?
Yeah,
it's a good question. I can answer that one, Max. So we use DataTree's property detail export. And so if you wanted to look up what that product entails, but it has over 260, I think, property items, property columns, to include, you know, the basics like mailing address, property address, owner information. It also has tax assessment information. It has subdivision information, school information. It's the same export that you would use for housing. So it also has, you know, your standard housing, things like beds and baths, which for land are just going to be blank. It has a data tree assessed value. It has land uses, flood zones. Max, am I missing anything on that? I mean, it's pretty extensive. And so what I'll mention is that when you do a download with us, we email you a zip file that has all that information included. So we give you the raw download. Yeah, thank you, Max. So this is also one of the products that is included in your download, and it's just the raw data that we have downloaded, right? So it's a real-time export from DataTree when you purchase the data, and then we basically take this file and condense it into that ready-to-mail list that I was showing in the presentation, using these data points as our mechanism for creating the other file.
Okay. Several more questions. Crystal wants to know, can you demo? Crystal, let me ask you this. Do you have a specific, do you want to give a specific area in mind, or Max or Ryan, just pick a random area that, that has the complete data, and give an example of one.
Totally. Yeah. So as long as, was there an example area that,
yeah, Crystal, do you have one in mind, or I can pick one? How about Branson, Missouri? Okay.
Is that a county or a city?
Branson is a city.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, what you can do when you search, you can search by state, city, or county. In all instances, we're going to return results at the county level. So what you actually want to do is put in the county where Branson is here. Do you know what county Branson's actually in?
I can look it up.
Because you can do two different searches. So if you do Branson County, or Branson City in this search right here, what we will actually do is pinpoint Branson City draw a radius around it, and then we're going to pull in all the counties that touch that radius. So there's really cool features in our website where you can actually pull in hubs of data around a certain specific area with a big buying pool. But if you want to do specifically Branson City, what you would want to do is put in the county here, and then I'll show you where to put in the city down below.
The county is Taney, Taney.
TA, Max.
Oh,
T like Tom.
Okay, and then
EY.
Taney. There it is.
Okay, cool. So what you want to do is put in the county here, and then under our advanced search criteria, that's where you want to go down to the cities filter and put city name is, and then you said Branson.
Yeah.
So I would just click Branson, and then when I go and search, I can do a quick search and go to exactly the owner records, or if I want to just get a quick count of how many records are in the area, so I can either narrow my search further or keep it as is, I can go through that. So you can see there's 3,694 owner records. And when I click search, what it's going to do is pull in the data tree data for you, bring in the market prices on a per acre basis at 5 acre increments by default. And you could change that to whatever increment you want. And these are going to be your results. So I have it sorted by acreage low to high right now. So you'll notice that in 0 to 4.99, there's 3,069 data tree owner records in this area. There's over 1,200 comps. You could do the parcels on market ratio, which is the amount of property listed for sale currently versus all the properties actually in that city. Then we have the county, the state, the acreage range, and then the offer price, which is based off this market price. So you can get all this information in here. And then we do 2 different pricing mechanisms if you want to use offer prices with your letters. So this is going to be at the county level. If you want to get more specific at the city level, you want to check this box to basically say that, okay, I want to download these records or look into the data some more. And then I can first come up to the for sale and sold comps data, look at all the comps. I can filter by city name. So I can go and put in Branson and see what properties come up. So I can see that there's a ton in Branson. And then I could click these results. So again, this is Zillow, this is live data that we have, and you could go right to the property, and I could do that for each and every one of these on here, really quick and easy. And you could see what the comp's looking like. And so I can get a good idea of what's going on here. And then I would exit out, go to city pricing. And then I could look at Branson's specific offer price per acre that I have right here. So up top, we're going to give you the base county price. And then you'll see Branson's specific offer price per acre, market price per acre. And then the Z-score we have is just a fancy word to say if it's above or below the county offer price. So above is positive value, below is a negative value. And then the magnitude of that number will tell you how far below or above it is. So I can go in here, change this however I want. So one cool part about our system is that we will always give you full control to create the offer price however you want. So if I wanted to come through here, select the row that I wanted. So it's 3,970.37 right now. But let's say I wanted a little higher than that, maybe let's say at 4,000, and I could put in some change in there. All I have to do is click update, and you're going to notice that the offer price per acre for Branson, the city, has now changed to the offer price that I've chosen. And once you have that, all you need to do is save the data and then make sure that you're applying city pricing. And so now we've honed in between 0 and 4.99 acres in this offer price range that is specific for Branson City. So that's really how you would do that. And you can go and select the ones. What's another really cool feature is that we provide this on a chart where you can see all the different cities and the prices going on within this county. So within Taney County, you can see all the different pricing ranges and how kind of diverse it is within this county. So this is one interesting way to look at it, so you can really pinpoint and hone in and make sure wherever you're offering it, the offer price is as most effective as possible per area. Because sometimes when you do a blanket county offer price, it may not be as effective as if you went in there and did it at the city level. So we wanted to make sure to show you how different those offer prices can actually be. So I just selected 0 to 4.99 with 3,069 data tree owner records. You'll see the cost and the amount of records right here. And these are cumulative totals for what I want to add. And all I have to do is select the one, click continue once I'm okay with the records that I wanted to grab. This is going to be the cleaned up version that we provide you. So making sure that you want all the column headers on your cleaned up data file we provide you. And once you have that, you'd click continue. And then as a last filtering approach, what we do is allow you to select if you don't want any non-US addresses on there, if you want to filter out government owners, corporate owners, blank addresses, you can filter out last minute any other properties on download. And then once more, click continue. And then you have the option to generate that campaign file that Ryan was going over, where it creates that Google Earth mapping feature. And then we can also remove duplicate owners if you don't want any duplicate owners before download. So unlike housing, for the most part, in land, there's a lot of duplicate owners, and a lot of people, it's about a 50-50 split, whether they grab all those records or they just want to grab one record with the property owner. And then when they get that call back, they will ask that person if they have any other properties available for sale as well. So they're saving money on the actual send out of letters, because mailing is expensive. The data is cheap, mailing's expensive. So you want to make sure what you're doing is as cost effective as possible too.
Okay, and a question from Stephanie. What are your pricing models? Like, what's the subscription? What are the tiers?
Yep, I can talk to those with Max. If you want to click on plans and pricing. So we have 4 different plans to offer. And so we have 2 monthly plans and then 2 annual plans. The monthly plans, they're 24 and 40, or 25 and 50. And then the annual plans are 250 and 500. And both of them correspond. So the bronze and silver are the same. And then the bronze plus and gold are the same in terms of what they offer you. The biggest difference between our plans is going to be that you can export comps. So when you were looking at that comps view where you had Zillow and Realtor and all those, you can actually export those into an Excel file and then do further analysis on that. And then the other feature that we offer with our plus plans is going to be the Polygon drawing tool. I don't know if we went through it in the live demo, but I did include a screenshot of that, where instead of searching maybe by a county, what I can do is actually draw a polygon around a specific area that I want to target, and then only pull the owner records from that specific area. So what Max is showing you right now, I would just click that map icon and then draw polygons specific to an area. I can draw multiple polygons if I want to target. And you'll see this a lot if I want to target a specific county, but exclude the sort of hub city that's maybe inside of it, right? I want to just kind of get the outskirts in terms of owners. I don't want to really target the inner city stuff. All of our data is 8 cents per record. And then when you export using KML, that's an additional 2 cents per record. So it's 2 cents to produce that additional map.
Got it.
And we also offer 7-day free trials for anything. And I'd like to think that Max and I are very lenient when we say 7 days. We've had some people that have stretched that when they ask. So we just want to make sure that you're able to try it, use it. And if it's not for you, that's okay. And if it is, or if it's not for you, we'd also love to know why it's not for you. You know, we always ask people when they cancel, why they cancel, because if we can make the product better, we're going to. And then the other thing I'll include in this is also that we have support and consulting calls where you can hop on a 30-minute Zoom call with mostly Max, not as much me, and talk about, you can work through the site and say, hey, can you help me do this, or how do I do this, or here's my strategy, how do I implement that on your site? And then the consulting call is more of a, hey, what do I target, or where do I go, or what do you see that works? So it's more strategy versus practicality. Whereas the support, which is the support's totally free, and that's, how do I use your services?
Great. Got a few more questions. Let's see here. Can you search by zoning? In other words, do you have, is it only land, or you can also search for like commercial by zoning type?
You have a vast way to search on our site. So first of all, this is going to be our land tab. And so this is going to be all land use codes, very specific, more so towards land. And on the housing side, you have land use codes more specific, geared towards SFR. And I can kind of go through each one, but down below, here's the specific land use codes that you can target. So through here, and I could zoom in a little bit too, so it's easier to see. These are where you can start targeting commercial acreages, commercial lots, different types of land. And then how the question was where you can search by zoning. We do have zoning on here where all you have to do is use this filter under situs information, and it'll say zoning is, and then you put in the zoning codes that you want to use. So they're different per area, per city and everything. So we don't have a long list of zoning codes, but if you know them, you can put them in here, and then we will only pull the owner records that meet that criteria of the zoning and then the land use as well.
Okay. All right. Let me see. All
we
right.
are, and I can add on to that question. So because we are data tree licensed providers, we have access to all of the same filters that they have. So they're a multinational real estate company. And so they have all the filters imaginable on their platform. So one thing we want to note, what we currently have on this page is very specific towards land investing. And it's been built by land investors. So we started small, let them tell us what they wanted. And so if there is a feature on here or a filter that you go through and you don't see it, but you do want it, please let us know, because more times than not, we can actually add it. It's just usually not as used as a lot of land investors like or have it as. And then I could show on the housing side really quickly, the land uses are going to change. So instead of more geared towards land, they're going to be all the different property types. So you can choose between SFRs, quadruplexes, triplexes, multifamily, 10 and up, 10 and down, mobile home parks, everything that you'd want. And you'd also still have all the zoning down here as well, plus all the bathroom, HOA, pool option. You can go through a bunch of different filters.
Okay. Let's see. Folks, hey, Vincent, you're back. Did you have another question?
Yeah, just real quick. I just wanted to ask them, you guys mentioned about doing like a seller financing deal. Is that something you guys actually do in your business? And could you kind of maybe talk about how you would do a deal? Like, what would you buy a property for? And then, you know, would you seller finance it on a term? And what kind of interest rate would you charge? And, you know, would you do like a 5-year term, or would you do like just kind of how you would structure that? I'm just curious, because I've heard that before. I actually got a couple of buddies that told me they do that, and it seems like it's a pretty good way to work with land and to make some pretty good returns on it.
Yeah, and I can talk to that. That's a great question, because again, it's one of those things where it's hard to understand at first. So how a terms deal or a seller financing would go is, let's say a property is worth $10,000, or we've deemed an area of properties to be worth $10,000. We would send out offer letters for about $3,000 in total. So, or like between $25,000 and $3,000 in total. And so let's say for every 1,000 letters we send out, we get one deal. So let's say we send out roughly 1,000, we get one deal back for $3,000. Now we have the option where we could sell it around as a cash deal. So we'll always buy it in cash. And then we could go around and sell it for, let's say, $8,000 for the discounted cash price. So it gives them some incentive to use cash there. Or let's say we want to sell it straight up at the $10,000 market value. What we can do is put on different terms. So we'll say, hey, for 3,000 down, so we're pulling our equity back out of the deal. And then we're going to say we're going now at 10 or 7% interest rate over X amount of terms. And that's very variable to how you want it. So what I've seen in the past is different interest rates per different year length, so different terms. But usually we try to keep it simple. And then there's a site that we use called Fabrica. It's specifically for land, and they're able to finance those seller deals for us, and they do all the calculations. So it's essentially, we bought it for $3,000. We'll always give a cash option that's kind of discounted to make sure that we're incentivizing to give us cash back, because that's a quick flip for us. But if not, then we're going to charge the full amount at $10,000, where they can provide us $3,000 down. So we're getting our down payment back. And then now they're giving us $200, $300 in cash flow over usually 5 years is pretty a normal length. I've seen 1, 3, 5, 10 years. So it really depends on the size of the property too. But, and what your cash flow, what your goals are inside of what your monthly cash flow you want on a per property basis. But that's how it would go. And so we use a service that basically finances that for them. So they'll basically be able to pay through a portal, and it won't be like directly through us. They'll channel that, and it could be automatic payments. And we won't transfer the deed to them until their payments are up. So what's interesting though is we like to make sure that they pay all the way through the end. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen all the time, but I say unfortunately for them because we want to make sure that they get the property. But for us, then we just got all that cash flow. We got our money out of the deal, and now we could do the exact same thing again, where we could either sell it for cash again at the full amount, or we do the terms deal all over again. So it's a pretty cool way to start as a basis where you're actually generating all that cash flow. You're not worrying about your overhead or anything, and then doing cash deals on top of that.
All right. Hey,
That-
I got some questions. Okay. So
No.
all this sounds wonderful. Go ahead, Vince. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Just to follow up, I'm sorry, Bobby, excuse me. So is Fabrica the servicing company you're using to do that?
They are, yeah. They're a very new company, so they are only servicing in certain areas. But that's what we are currently, we're partnered with right now, is Fabrica, and they're awesome. They're basically creating a digital domain for title transfers and everything. They're starting that out.
And just one last question, is doing land, like if somebody doesn't pay you on land like that, is that a simpler process than like closing on like a home or something, or it's kind of the same process?
As far as like the transaction itself,
Like you mentioned, like if they don't pay at the end, it's like not the end of the world for you because you just got all that money and you start over again. But I'm saying, like, is that a hassle legally for you to like get the property back into your company, or do you just kind of have a contract that sort of spells that out at the top end? Or
yeah, it would be a contract where if they miss a payment, then it's a done deal for the most part.
okay,
Yeah,
But
it would be very
have to
clear in the
go through-
contract.
Do you have to go through a foreclosure process, or is there a different process?
So it's actually never happened to us, knock on wood. So I haven't gone through any of the processes, so I'm not exactly an expert in that area, but I don't believe you go through either. It's really, I think it's in the land investing space, I think it's more so a simple contract where if they breach the contract, then it's yours to basically take back, because you're holding the deed the whole time. So there's no foreclosure because the deed is still yours until they fulfill their payment structure.
All right. I got it. Okay. So we covered all the good stuff. Let's talk about the bad stuff. The county comes to you and says the grass is too tall. And let's say you're still on, you still own the property, or there's garbage. Somebody goes in and dumps garbage on your property.
Yep. What do we do?
Yeah.
So and that's a great question, because sometimes that happens. We try to do all that we can from afar, right? Because we never see any of our deals either up close. And so we'll go through the Google Earth images. Those aren't always up to date for the most part. And so as a last bit of due diligence, we do two different things. First of all, we'll always have a real estate agent, before we even buy it, go out to the property and give their assessment on the market value too. So they'll go out, take pictures of the property and give us some feedback and see what's actually going on. Because at the end of the day, we're giving them the deal when we close on it. So they're more than happy to do that and basically get their due diligence ahead of time, because they have to do it anyways. So that's one thing. We'll have someone go out and see it live through that way. Another way that we've done it is through, and other people do it, is through, they'll actually hire someone to get a drone service out there. And so they'll take like an actual aerial video footage of the property itself. And if there is garbage or anything on it, then you do have to deal with it. You have to hire someone to clean it up, whether that be through Craigslist or something more so where you have to knock down a fence or get a little bit more into the construction heavy side. But
Yep.
That's why we also, we do that ahead of time before we buy it, first of all.
Yep.
To make sure. And if there is, let's say there's garbage on the property and it still makes sense for us to buy it. Like if we're in the process of potentially buying a property for $35,000 right now, it's worth, from what the realtor said, $100,000. If we have to pay an extra $1,000 to clean up garbage or something else, we're okay taking that on, because we have such a level of margin of safety in there where we're okay doing that.
Okay, I got you. So the incident that happened to a friend of mine was he bought a piece of land, and he sat on it, and then somebody came in like a couple of years later and dumped a bunch of garbage on his land, probably at night, right? That's usually when that happens. so the city came after him and they stuck him with a bunch of fines and violations and all that. And then another friend of mine had the weeds, the grass grew too tall and all that. So the city again came in and there was a violation on the property. But you got to take all that into account. Like nothing's perfect, but what I want the folks that are watching is to know what's the good and the bad and the ugly in the whole business, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
and I can add to that too. And there is a difference in property type between infill lots and vacant rural land too. So different things come up with different property types as well.
Yep.
So we usually target the more so like the vacant rural land where it's outside of usually city limits where that's not a problem. People aren't usually coming after you. There still can be garbage on there.
Yep.
Definitely seen that before. But as far as like zoning or rules and regulations from the city, we don't see those as much as if you were doing infill lots where now you have to worry about, is there water able to go through the property and all that stuff. Because vacant rural land, there's a lot of times it's just public water wherever. There may be telephone poles, but it's a lot simpler of a process. And that's why we usually gear towards that as opposed to infill lots right now.
Got it. Great. Okay. Let me see. I think if you have any other questions for Max and Ryan, please go ahead and ask away. Okay, there we go.
I have a question,
yes,
Bobby.
Yes.
So you mentioned that your stats are about one accepted offer per 1,000 letters. Is that true? Or is that close to the stats?
On average, from what we've seen and what the education platforms that we've partnered with say, that's roughly what they see on average.
So technically, you go ahead and type 1,000 letters. What kind of technique do you use? I mean, how do you do that? You're not going to sit down and write 1,000 letters, right?
No way. Definitely not doing that.
So we use what's called a mail merging service. So for us, we use Rocket Print and Mail. And so what we do is we'll give them the Excel file that I was showing, that scrubbed Excel file. And then we give them a PDF of our mailer template. And so it's basically the letter that we're going to send, but with the data, the information actually just like carved out. And then they actually put it together and they'll produce all the letters and then they'll mail it for us. And that could cost anywhere between 45 and 55 cents per letter. And that includes mailing costs, that includes postage and everything. So that's actually the greater cost in the sort of initial acquisition process, where you pay 8 cents for the data. Yeah, there you go. So that Max has it up there. And then you'll pay about 50 cents to actually mail those letters. But yeah, you definitely do not sit there and mail or handwrite 1,000. That'd be quite cumbersome. It's actually quite easy.
Okay. So, so basically, you say that you really get at least one offer accepted per 1,000. That's your experience, right?
Our experience has been around that number. And then from, we've talked to hundreds of investors, and it's about that, especially when you keep it consistently. I think a lot of people, what they'll try and do is cherry pick, and they'll only send 300 or 400, and then they won't get a deal, and then they'll move somewhere else and send 300 or 400, and then they won't get it, and they sort of aggregate that and say like, well, I'm not getting it once I send 1,000. But what we've seen is in the bulk space, it's very effective, where people will download 15, 20,000 records, and they'll just basically go systematically through a state, right, county by county, and that's where you sort of see that return, percentage. And we've kind of confirmed that with them. We actually have a tool on our site that allows you to sort of predict that profit forecasting using that percentage. And that's around where people see people putting that number in. It's not an exact science, but that's kind of what we have experienced. Yeah. So yeah,
do you normally negotiate the price? I mean, like, I mean, people accept your offer like with no issue, or they negotiate? What's going on? I mean, like, what's the
there's negotiation, definitely. You know, so on the property, well, so just as an example, we were about to purchase a property, like Max said, in Tennessee. We offered 32.5, and they wanted 35. So it was a very simple negotiation in the sense that like the what we deemed as the market value was close to 100. We confirmed that with the realtor, a local realtor, as 100. So we were okay going up 35. We've had other folks. So another one actually just got a letter back today where we offered 32, 33, something like that, 32,000, and they wanted 64,000. And so that's a situation where, you know, we're probably not going to accept that. It's just, it doesn't, we won't have a good enough margin. It's too much risk involved in that. Other people have come back and said, you know, and so, sorry, I don't want to skip that. So on that person, we might counter to them, right? We have their contact now. We might reach out to them and say, hey, we can do 45. Like we'll negotiate, we'll move our price up because we've offered so low that now we can kind of bring ourselves up and cut into that big margin. Some people have principles about how much of margin they really need. You know, we try not to be as greedy about it, but there is a line. And then you'll have other people that, you know, quite honestly, they'll come back and they'll either just say, absolutely not. You know, there's a lot of angry owners in this space. I won't lie to you. Which is, I would definitely recommend a call service for that. Our first time out, we took the calls on our cell phones and it was not great. And so we would definitely recommend a call service to vet those calls. And then yeah, you'll get owners that'll come back and say like, you know, I'll only sell it to you for, you know, let's say we offer 10,000 and they'll say they want 300,000. And you just say, okay, like,
Okay,
no.
Let me interrupt for a second. So,
Yeah.
so now you have an expense of a call service. So what does that run?
Right now, it's we pay $200 for 6 months, so it's very cheap. We use a call service in the Philippines, and so we get that for really cheap. And then basically, when calls come in, we get an email, and they also funnel it into an Excel spreadsheet that we use that starts off our CRM process that then we go and do our due diligence in.
Okay. And is their pricing per call, or is it per hour, or how is their pricing?
It's on a minute basis, but they have different plans. So they have a beginning, like a startup plan, a beginner plan, advanced plan, and there are different sizes of limits that you can use. If I can try to pull it up real quick, but they cater really well specifically towards land investing because that's their specialty. And then also how much you actually want to use their service. So they understand that if you're just starting, you don't need a ton of minutes. So they cater to you. So I would say the biggest call service that a lot of people use besides Landmasters is what we use is patlive.com. So that's a little more expensive and they may be a touch more professional. It's probably touted, at least in the land space, as kind of like the ideal call service. But I haven't had any problem, or we haven't had any problems with our call service at all. They funnel them right into our spreadsheet and it still works the same way.
Okay.
Pat Live, what was it again?
Pat Live.
Pat Live, yeah, PATLIVE, and I can pull that up for you just so you have an idea.
And the one that you use is Landmasters.
Landmasters.us, and I'll try to pull that up for you as well.
How many rounds of letters do y'all typically send out? You do like 6 times, and like frequency wise, like how long do you wait in between? What are y'all seeing that works?
And that's a great question. You want to go, Ryan?
Well, yeah. So I was going to say, when we first started, we were doing, I would say 2,000 to 3,000 a month was about what we were hitting. And it was really just, so we both work full-time jobs outside of this. So, you know, our capacity was pretty limited. That went down to 0 when we actually started doing the website. So for like the last year almost, we've just been 100% all in on this website. And we're really happy that like the last 2 months, we've finally started to kick it off again, but we're starting fairly slow just because we have like a pretty big support system, and we want to, you know, make sure that we're taking care of those customers first before kind of branching off. But as we start to funnel out of that, I'd say we want to get back up to 2,000 to 3,000 a month, maybe if not more. We see people that have good infrastructure in place where they can take those calls, and they have VAs that are helping them sort of process that information, that they'll do, anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000 a month. And we've even seen as high as maybe 15 to 20, but that's sort of the folks that they have a few people working with them or for them. And that those people are going to do the due diligence, right? The sort of the VAs or their interns are going to do a lot of the due diligence, because that does take time. If I send out, let's say for every 1,000 letters I send out, I might get 50 to 100 responses that I have to maybe process or look at. And so if I'm doing that by myself, that does take a lot of my time. And then, once you start to get into it, you're also focusing on, acquiring some properties. You're also focusing on selling your inventory. So you're also talking to maybe realtors or buyers or sellers, as well as trying to continue that cash flow by sending out more letters. So it's really just a bandwidth constraint. And like I mentioned, if you can get some of these services, like your call service, like your CRM, like some of the due diligence automated out, so you don't have to worry about that as much, you can definitely ramp that up. That's actually one of the things that we are really proud that we feel like we offer people, is we can give them that ability to ramp up their system, because they can download really quickly and easily from us and send it out, and not really have to, use any brain cycles trying to focus on investing. People, like I said, they'll systematically go through like a state like Georgia and just kind of go county by county, and they'll have they save their searches and just go, and then they'll kind of come back, right? We see a lot of people that after 8, 10, 12 months, maybe even a year, they'll just start back over the top and send the letters again, because it's not necessarily that the owner is never going to sell. It's just they weren't going to sell when they got that first letter. We've had people call us saying that they accept our offer, that said that they got letters the month prior and they just liked our letter more. So it's kind of an interesting deal with that.
So once you have someone that says they want to buy or they want to sell to you, how long do you typically say to close? Like 5 hours, 3 days? What do you do for your closing?
Yeah, that depends too. So on our letters, we actually have a contract expiration date, because it does take time, but when we mail it to when they actually get it to when they open it, like we sent mail out beginning of December, and because of the holidays, it's like people are still trickling in with that. And so we do have an expiration date on that. It also depends too. So like on the property that we're buying in Tennessee, they're not, if they had scanned, we send out actually like a pre-filled in contract sheet. So all I have to do is sign it and scan it in, and we already are like basically under contract, and we just move forward the title from there. But so with that, in this particular case, they aren't savvy with computers, which is, we've seen in a lot of cases. So they're actually going to mail it back to us. And so there's actually another expense I was going to add in. There's a virtual mailbox, unless you want the mailing just directly back to your personal residence. A virtual mailbox is a really nice way to have the letters get, and then they'll scan it from there. But that does take a little bit of time for that process to happen. So I can't give an exact number, but hopefully if we see they've accepted our offer, hopefully within the next week to 2 weeks, we can move the title.
Okay, cool.
All right. Let me see. Can we offer different prices for each lot? Then send one per acre, right? For all, I guess, Srini, it's all up to you. Whatever price you want to offer, it's totally up to you. Okay, and then I have a question. Price like your initial touch with a written offer. Okay, I think again, James. Oh yeah, good question from James. Does everything go through a title company?
No. And so usually our cutoff is with the lower price pieces of land, you can do a self close. So our threshold is between like 4,000 and 5,000. So anything under that, we'll just self close to save on cost with that. I will say the process is a little more tedious when you're self closing though. So anything above that, we'll just take to title and escrow right there. And with that being said, it just helps kind of automate, let them do that process. So we're kind of out of it too.
Okay, wait a minute. How do you check the title in a self-close?
We won't. So sometimes we do have certain criteria. So there are certain websites where we use Title Pro 24/7, where we can do a quick look up there and just make sure that looks good. But essentially on those lower deals, you can almost risk that as well, depending on where you're at. But there's plenty of areas where you can actually look up. But that's why we focus on higher end properties where we're always going through title and escrow, and the cost is worth it for that. One thing to note: a lot of new land investors, when they're starting out, they decide to target those smaller end properties to try to save on costs, be a little less risky with everything. But what we've seen is that it's almost less risky starting off with greater deals, especially because the profit margins are there. When you send out letters, the cost per letter is going to stay the same, whether you're targeting properties that you're going to buy for $1,000 or $100,000. So you have more profit margin baked in on those larger deals where, and even like $5,000-$10,000 where you're buying and selling for 20 or so. So like, we like to say to start there. That's always a good place where if you want to self-close, you get someone to basically come and sign the deed for you and all that. And so it's a little bit more tedious, but it's up to you to basically look up that title on yourself. And you could do that through CoreLogic or some other data provier if you really want.
But but for that you have to be a subscriber.
Yes.
Folks on the and listening, I do not recommend you do anything without
no, yeah,
yeah.
A lot of people like to, they're okay risking and then doing the deed as some other kind of means, but we don't do it either. It's nice to sleep at night knowing that the chain of title is all good and complete.
Sure. No, it makes sense. But again, I like Max said, look, start out, but I would say do everything by the book. Unless you're anyway, we suggest you do everything by the book. The other one is a good question. So Max and Ryan, there are two contracts. So there's a contract for when you acquire the property. And then there's a contract when you sell or finance the property. So, and each state may have different contracts, but so what kind of service do you use or contracts do you use? Let's say you're buying in Nevada versus buying in Wyoming versus buying in North Dakota. It's going to be different, right? So how do you handle the contracts?
Yeah. And what we do is we have an extremely simple contract. It's literally, we send out letters. One page is going to be our introduction, who we are, with all of our contact information. The second page is just our purchase agreement with basically lines of data, like 9 basically things that say, hey, we want to buy your property at this price. And then it has just very simple remarks in there. So we keep it extremely simple. The contract itself doesn't change too much. It's more going through closing, who needs to actually close. So some states require like a title company can close on the deal, and some states require an attorney to close on the deal, and sometimes it's mixed. So knowing that is the most important part of it. We keep it simple. Again, it's literally like, hey, for this property, we want to purchase at this amount. We have the ability to assign this contract at any time. We could pull out for any reason to include no road access, but that's basically the amount of text we have in there. And so it's signing, it's really quick and easy because we're taking on, we do our due diligence beforehand and before we buy to make sure. And then it's just up to either the attorney or title to actually take care of the documents.
Sure. Okay, and got it. Let me see, there's more questions. I don't have any other questions in the chat.
I do want to add one thing. It's kind of the making sure that your expectations are being met and just keeping them in check. So with this, and it kind of goes off your question, Megan, when you asked it. So when you're first starting out, when you send out letters, this isn't one of those get rich quick schemes, or you can get a deal. And sometimes you could flip it in a day. I've seen it, but usually it could be a 3 to 6 month time frame until you're actually flipping that deal. So when you're sending out letters, let's say in January, you're not receiving any money until July, let's say. So it's really important and imperative, if you have the ability to keep that letter service churning throughout that process. Now you're going to start getting those that profit that you sent out from January and July. And then from when you send out in February, you're going to get it in June, July, August, and so on and so forth in the month. So it's really a rolling profit from when you're doing it way in advance. So it's kind of starting it off where you can kind of build up, but having and managing those expectations where it does start slow, but can ramp up and roll quickly later on if you are persistent throughout.
Okay. All right. All right. What we'll do one last question, and I want to then I want to open it up for networking and people introducing themselves. But I do have a hard stop at 7:30 Pacific. So hopefully, one last question. Do you know any land flippers that don't use direct mail? What is their success rate?
Ooh, I don't know their success rate. Everyone that we are basically in communications with use direct mail. The only other approach that I've seen is that they'll download those owner records. So now they have the information on a per property basis, and then they'll target them using social media. So they'll basically throw those ads up on social media where now they're clicking their website saying, hey, we buy land essentially. And I don't have, I don't have an idea of what their success rate or conversion rate is on those. I do know that they have found success in it. So it's not a dead opportunity or anything. I just don't know off the top of my head from experience.
Max, what was the service that Lori was talking about with was it IP or phone numbers, something like that?
Yeah, it's just IP tracking and like using their addresses to basically target those areas for the social ads. Basically say, hey, we buy land, come to our website, and then they're going to put up their properties on there. That's how we've seen it in the past happen.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay. Hey, Max, Ryan, wonderful. You're two young entrepreneurs. You're working on this. So I have a lot of respect for fellow entrepreneurs who are also developing software. So I empathize with you, and kudos to you guys for putting this together. And everybody, reach out to Max and Ryan if you got questions or any other suggestions, or there's the information, and hopefully you like the presentation. We're going to have a lot more real estate technology folks joining us this year, 2021. So thank you both, and folks, if you have any announcements, if you have a need or a want, just unmute yourself and ask away. Just no raising capital. Just don't raise capital here. This is not the right place. But anything else, if you need any advice or anything, just go ahead and ask away. Otherwise, if not, then I will do a quick demo because we got a couple of minutes, and you can still unmute and ask away. But for the folks that are into technology, we have, let me see, 1 second. As you know, just like Max and Ryan, we've been working on this platform. We went live. Max, can you see my dashboard?
I can, yes.
Yeah, okay. So, folks, this is our platform that we've been developing. You can track all your real estate assets in here. So, for example, I'll pick a property here. So I can go in, I can track the performance of this property. This is all sample data, but some of you have seen this demo, but we've gone live and we've added a whole bunch of features. You can set up your financials. I've got a YouTube video on basically how long it takes to set up a property, but all your transactions are in here. All your this is the one that's really important at the beginning of the year. If you have all your data, then you can just click on the Schedule E button, and it'll actually print out an Excel file that you can take to your accountant. So we do a bulk of your heavy lifting for your Schedule E. You can store your documents in here. You can store your contacts in here, but it's free to use. If you wanna see a more in-depth demo, please reach out to me. The website is called bettercapital.us. And we've gone live, and we've got about 200 users using the site right now, but we keep enhancing it. But the idea is, so you've bought some assets. You were told when you were buying the asset that it was going to perform in a certain way, like your projection. They projected in an Excel spreadsheet. Well, there's theoretical projections in an Excel spreadsheet, and then there's reality. So what we want to do is we want to give you the picture of the reality. So when you bought a rental property in whether it was Kansas City or in Nashville or in Memphis, wherever you bought it, maybe 2 years ago, what was your down payment? What kind of rents came in? What kind of expenses did you have? And then the system will give you an actual performance, right? So, but this is all sample data, so don't go by this, but it'll give you all the key KPIs. Well, let me pick this one here. Let me see if this one works better. But yeah, this is your actuals for last year, because this is now the beginning of the year. So this is your actuals, this is your equity, this is your cash on cash return, all of that data. And then we're also integrated with the bank. So whatever bank, whether it's Wells Fargo, whatever bank you use, we are integrated. It's a secure system, so you can have your transactions come in from the bank. We are integrated with a lot of the property management, some of the most popular property management systems. So, if you have let's say an AppFolio or a Cozy or Rent Manager report, you can simply import that data, whether you download it from your portal, or somebody forwarded you if they forwarded you a PDF or an Excel, then what you do is you just come in here into this property, you go into transactions, and you click on import. Sorry, that's one way. Let me see, documents. You upload via email. So every property will have a unique email address. So you just copy, nice copy. Okay, I'll show you. It's copied. Okay, there it is. All I did was click on that, and now that email is copied. You put it in your address book, and then anytime they send you a PDF or an Excel pertaining to that property, you just forward it to that email address, and our system will absorb it, will import that data, and it's going to sit in the transactions, or it's going to sit in documents. Okay, so we made it super easy. You can also upload manually. You can upload pictures, so you can add a photo if you want. But anyway, I don't want to use up a lot of your time, but this is a software that we have developed for our users, for our meetup members, and I'd love for you to try it and give me your feedback. And my email is bobby@bettercapital.us. But yeah, that's it. But anyway, thank you everybody, and Megan, always good to see you, and so many wonderful friends, Ofer, Mike, Bettina, Gail, Stephanie. Thank you for all the wonderful questions. I think they asked a lot of good questions, right, Max and Ryan? All right, so good.
And thank you for the presentation. It was wonderful, and I wish you a lot of luck with this, and I may use your service in the future.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we're always open to talking about more after this call too.
Thank you.
You bet. All right. All right, everybody, stay safe. Happy New Year, and we'll see you soon in February for sure. All right.
Very much.
All right. Good night.
Awesome.
Good night.
Y'all.
Night.
Good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.